Hi, welcome to Glitter, Glue, and Fairy Dust. This is Amy, and today we're going to make a Deco Mesh Halloween wreath. So, what you'll need for this wreath are 6 rolls of Deco Mesh. I got everything from the Dollar Tree. 4 of the black and 2 of the purple. It's a 14-inch wreath form, and there are black pipe cleaners. You can also use the purple. You won't be able to see it. I used 2 packages of the lights. I got one in the spiders and one in the back. And I did get the tubing, but I did not use it. So, first thing I'm going to do is cut my pipe cleaners in half. You don't have to do this step. You can use them whole if you want to. A lot of professional wreath makers that I see make wreaths, or that I've seen make wreaths, they put their pipe cleaners on first. But what I've noticed is they're using larger Deco mesh, or their Deco mesh has a bigger width to it, and they're putting it on a little bit differently. For me, it's easier if I put my pipe cleaners on after I've folded my Deco mesh. You can do it whichever way works for you, but for me, it's easier to put it on afterwards. So, the other thing here is I'm going to cut my pipe cleaners in half. I don't need the full thing, so I am going to cut them in half. The word about pipe cleaners, they will dull your scissors. They put little cuts in your scissor blades, so use scissors to cut them. It's the easiest way to do it, but don't use your newer scissors or your fabric scissors or anything like that. Use scissors that you've used before to cut your pipe cleaners. That's why you see me going back to those red scissors, because I've used them before. I don't want to use my other ones. I did not cut enough pipe cleaners. I should have cut the whole package. So just cut the whole package to begin with. It makes it easier. If you end up with some leftover, it's no big deal, but you don't have to cut in the middle of your project. So when you start this project out, and I'm going slow so that you can see how I do it before I kind of speed it up once we've gotten going. The way that we're going to do this, the way I arrived at my math, just so you know, there are 3 sections on each side. We're going to cut this in half, okay? 3 sections on each side, or per 3, where there's 3 sections that we're going to use for each 3 rolls of Deco mesh. There's 5 yards for each roll. We're going to put all 3 of those rolls on top of each other. So 5 yards equals 15 feet. I'm going to do 8-inch poofs for this project. I wanted to do 8-inch poofs. I wanted it to be kind of poofy wreath. So if you take the 15 feet per section and do 8-inch sections, it is 5 feet of Deco mesh for each of the 3 sections. That's 60 inches if you divide that by 8, which is the amount or the length of the poofs that we're going to make. That's 7 poofs per section. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I can explain it in the description. But basically, I arrived at my math, maybe in a weird way. I don't have a great math brain, but the math actually works out. I tried to do, I don't know what I was thinking. At first I tried to do 8 sections, but it really needs to be 7. So here's how I started out. I take my Deco mesh, I fold it over to the intersection of the two sections here. Fold it over, and then I take my pipe cleaner and I twist it over. And the reason I'm doing it this way is so that the ends are underneath, so they won't ever show, and that it's being held together by the 2 sections, and it kind of anchors it so it's not going to move anywhere. After that, we only do it that way once again. when we're going to tie off a new one. So how you do this is you measure to 8 inches. Once you get your 8-inch point, you take a pipe cleaner and you attach that to the middle 2 rungs of the wreath and then push it to the side. The most important thing to remember here is that you need to keep your deco mesh in the same order. It'll try to twist, it's okay. As long as it's the black and then the purple and then the black, that's fine. So you're taking your deco mesh, you're measuring out 8 inches, and then you're tying it to the middle 2 rungs on that 8-inch point, and then you're pushing it to the side and starting again. You're measuring from where you tied off last, 8 inches, and then you're going to tie it off again. Now, I took my T-square just so that I could go from where I tie off here, and then I could see where my 8-inch point was. Just so I wasn't moving my wreath out of the way of the camera. And you can see it doesn't matter if you're moving them all over the place, you've tied them down, so they're not going to change their measurements at all. Once you've tied them down, you can push it off to the side and it won't affect anything. Now, it does look a little harder, right, the way I'm doing it here than it actually is in real life. The way I keep the angle for the camera, it makes it look a little harder to do than it is. So here I am showing a little bit closer. You pull it to the 8 inches, and then you tie it off to the middle 2 rungs. You just wrap it around, and then you just kind of twist the pipe cleaner. Once you get to your next section, you don't have to do anything. You just keep going. The section really doesn't matter. Just go right over it. So you just keep going. All you need to do is make sure that once you've hit 7 poofs, you are in the next section. Naturally, you're actually going to be there pretty close to it because, you know, of the size of the poofs, but just make sure once you hit 7 poofs, you move over to the next section. And you just keep going. Now, another thing I've noticed with Dollar Tree deco mesh is that sometimes the roll isn't quite 5 yards, and I ran into that here. I ran out of one of my colors before the others. It's not a big deal. You'll see how I handle it. Again, the most important thing here is that I keep my deco mesh in the same order. So black, purple, black. Same black in the same place all the time. So I ran out of the black. You can see here, I ran out of the black. Here I am doing the 1 more poof, and then I ran out of the black, but I've got enough to do 2 more, or at least 1 more poof with the other 2. So all I'm going to do is open up one of the new rolls. Going to fold the end over just so that there's no fraying, and I'm going to tuck it right in where I tied off the last poof. I'm going to put it on the top because that's where the last roll was. So I'm just going to replace this for the other one and keep going. That's it. Same, it has to just be in the same place. So black, purple, and the black. And you can see that those 2 other rolls are kind of trying to twist around and roll around. It's fine, as long as they're in the same order. And here's where I wish I would have cut all of my pipe cleaners at the same time because I ran out and I had to cut some more. It's not a big deal if you don't do it, but it would have been easier had I just had them cut in the first place. So, word to the wise. So, after I do 1 more section here, obviously, I'm going to run out of my other 2 colors, maybe 2 more sections. So I just do the same thing I just got through doing. I tie off the last section with those two colors, and then I'm going to add my other two rolls. As long as they're in the same order, it does not matter. Just need to make sure that everything's in the same order. Black, purple, black. So I have enough for one more here. So I'm going to tie off this one here. And then I'm going to start my other two rolls. Now the purple is a little bit longer than the black. I'm just going to put the rest of the purple off to the side, and I'll deal with that after the wreath is complete. I'm just going to tug it under and pinch it in, but I didn't want to deal with it right now. So I'm just going to push it off to the side. No big deal. Just push it off to the side right there. So I'm going to bring my other two colors in, and I'm going to do just like I did before. I'm going to take the two ends, I'm going to fold them over, I'm going to tie them in, and then I'm going to start again. So I'm just grabbing the box because I want to make sure they're in the same order. And I am actually going to anchor them. So I'm going to go over the sections. So I'm folding it over, and then I'm going to go under the two sections, and then I'm going to tie it off just so that it's anchored in, just like I did when I started the wreath. And so there is an extra pipe cleaner in this area, but again, you're never going to see it. It just adds to the poofiness. So I'm just anchoring this off. And then we're going to start just like we did before. Now, it's easier to keep this wreath going if you put a couple, like 16 inches or 24 inches worth of the Deco mesh kind of out already. It gets a little unruly, so if you already have that out there, it's easier to kind of pull it in, make it look nicer. That's why you see me keep pushing it out like that. But all I'm doing is measuring to the 8 inches and making another poof. And you just need to do 7 poofs and then go to the next section. And you can see I'm not fluffing it. I'm not, doing anything to it. I'm just making sure that I have enough poofs per section before I move on to the next one. And again, this is a black wreath with purple accent. So when you fluff this wreath, if you fluff this wreath, you want to make sure that you pull black to the inside and the outside and leave the purple kind of on the top so that it's the accent. But I really didn't do a lot of fluffing of this wreath either because I liked the way the colors looked. So I really didn't fluff this much as I have fluffed other wreaths in the past. I kind of left it the way it was. I wanted it to be a dark wreath, especially because I put some of the flower embellishments on it and the light embellishments on it. The Deco mesh really wasn't the star here. So once you get to the end, there was extra black, so I did cut that off, and then I just did the same thing I did when we started. I rolled my ends over and I tied them down with pipe cleaners. Then I took my flowers. I had 2 of those long spindly looking ones, and then I had 2, and then I used 2 of the picks that had the eyeball and spider flowers. I put them kind of end to end or middle to middle, and then I on both, one of each. Sorry, I know I'm not describing this, but you can see what I'm doing. And then once I got them kind of middle to middle, I I used a twist tie or a zip tie, and I tied them down. I didn't want to cut my flowers. Then I took 2 of the picks that had the skulls in them, and I did the same thing. I put them middle to middle, and then I zip tied them in the middle of the other 2 flowers. So basically I'm making a swag here. And then I knew once I kind of got it in the wreath, I could kind of bend it up a little bit. So here I am just kind of fluffing it out. And then I just cut my ends off of my twist ties. And then I put it on the wreath, and I did use pipe cleaners to put it on the wreath. I didn't use the zip ties to put it on the wreath. And then I put it a couple in different places so that I could make sure that the swag kind of bent up, kind of in a smiley face. Then I put my lights on, and all I did with my lights was put half on one side of the wreath and half on the other side of the wreath. I avoided putting it where the flowers were, so it's really just the top third, I guess, the top half. And one side it is the spiders, one side it in the back. And I just twist tied the back, I twist tied it to the back, so that I can turn it on and off. I'm only going to use it on, in the nights. And here's kind of what it looks like. It's a pretty dark wreath. Here's during the day. And then I always knew I was going to do this. I have never made a wreath with the red truck. But as an ode to the red truck, I decided to do mine, but in black. So I decided to do the Halloween version of the red truck. So I took red and blue chalk paint. I do not have purple, so I made my own. And this is just Waverly chalk paint. And I did the hubcaps in the purple, the fenders in the purple. And I also am going to do the slats on the truck. Then I'm going to do the truck in black. And I'm basically doing everything but the fenders, or the wheel wells, if you want to call it that. I'm doing the wheels in black. And then I'm going to do the hubcaps and the slats in purple. I did leave the headlights and the brake lights, and I'm going to do those in white and red respectively. I didn't do the pumpkins. I'm going to do those in Pumpkin by Waverly in the chalk paint as well. After I did all of this, and I'm just trying to make sure that I get everything in the black. Now I did do a little bit of shadowing on the hubcap, or on the fenders, and also on the slats, a little bit of shadowing. And then between the slats I did in the black. And then I did the hubcaps in the purple, and then I let it dry. Once I let it dry, I came back with more purple. I did a little bit more purple, not a lot. And I did some white chalk paint and some black or ink chalk paint, all Waverly chalk paints. And I did basically a gray color. And I did that basically where I thought if light would hit it, it would look a little bit lighter. So I did it on the roof. I did it on the hood. I did it where the handle is for the door. I did it on the top of the fenders. I did that in the purple. And I made the purple just a little bit lighter than the one before. I put a little bit of white in it. And then I took a little bit of the black and then just did the underneath where it would be shadows. So the underneath of the fenders and right under the handle of the door. And then I just did a little bit of blending on that gray that I did. And then I did the pumpkins in Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin. And then I took some black and I took that same brush took some black and I did down where the grooves of pumpkin are and the stems of the pumpkin just to add some dimension. And then at the bottoms where they sit on the truck. Then I took that same brush, I just wiped it off. I took the same brush and I took some white and put some really small white highlights. Then I did red on the brake lights and white on the headlights. Then I took my glue gun and I did 4 long pipe cleaners, obviously one top, one bottom, one on each side. This is so I can hook it to the wreath. And then one of the spiders that had been on those flower picks fell off, so I glued that just to the back of the truck. And then I attached it to the wreath. And again, I'd never done a red truck before. This was just kind of my ode to the red truck. And I think it turned out kind of cute. There you go. And here's what it looks like on the wreath. I enjoy this wreath. I think it's a fun wreath. I am going to light it up on Halloween or at night. I enjoyed making this and I enjoy how it turned out. I really hope you enjoy making your version of this Halloween wreath. I'd love to see your finished projects. Thank you for stopping by. Those that have been with me, thank you. And the new subscribers, I love having you along for the ride. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, that'd be great. And I hope to see you again next week. Have a great week.